Moving right along. Now we have the ordinance 570, Police Commission. This is also slated for a first reading. In review, same thing. The policy committee gave a recommendation. It entailed really two parts, and that is amending one part of the current Muni Code, which is titled Police Department. That's being slightly amended. And then there's a whole new section that's being added to deal with the police commission. So if anybody wants to go ahead and read that. Any takers? It's a long one.
If you hand it to me, I'll read it.
Huh?
But if you hand it to me, I'll read it.
Oh, you don't have it?
Move your cup. Move your cup. All right. Ordinance number 570, amend ordinance regarding police commission, explanation of proposed action. Do you want me to read the explanation and the entire thing?
Sure.
Oh, Jesus.
Can you take over at some point?
But yeah, whenever you feel like it.
Just
The purpose of this proposed change is to revise the ordinance governing the police commission to be consistent with the applicable law and city practice. The current ordinance consists of one section, Section 2-282, located in Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 9, titled Department of the Police. The proposal is to move the current Section 2-282, Powers of the Police Commission, into Chapter 2, Article 2, Boards, Committees, and Commissions, to be located within a new Division 9 titled Police Commission. The new sections would be structured in a manner similar to the existing divisions, governing other commissions and boards, including establishment, composition, powers and duties, and rules and procedures. The existing Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 9, Department of the Police would remain where it is. Section 2-281 would be amended to add a cross-reference to the new Police Commission provisions, and Section 2-282 would be retained as reserved for future provisions regarding the police department. The establishment section would explain the unusual origin of the police commission. It was first established in 1947 by special act of the New Hampshire legislature before the city had adopted the city form of government or the city charter. The legislature has amended the original legislation 3 times over the years. In accordance with Section 69 of the city's charter, today the police commission continues to be governed by these special acts of legislature rather than the provisions of RSA 105-C. By capturing this history in the ordinance.
Yeah, there's one.
We're typo there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Capturing this history in the ordinance, future questions regarding the police commission may be more easily resolved. The remaining provisions detail the composition of the commission, appointment and removal of commissioners, powers and duties of the commission, and the relationship among the commission, city manager, and city councilor regarding the oversight and funding of the police department. Enactment of this ordinance will repeal Chapter 2, Administration, Article 3, Section 2-282, amend Section 2-281, and revise Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, by inserting a new Division 9 Police Commission, and adding new Sections 2-134 through 2-137. This change was requested by the City Council upon the recommendation of the Policy Committee.
You ready?
I don't know, they're still like, yeah, go ahead.
All right. I'll start on this part. Go as long as my voice holds up. Okay. So there's the actual ordinance. It's the City of Claremont in the year 2019, ordinance number 570, repeal and replace Police Commission ordinance. The City of Claremont ordains, pursuant to New Hampshire RSA 47:17, the Claremont City Code is hereby amended to repeal Chapter 2, Article 3, Section 2-282 to amend Section 2-281 to add a new Division 9 to Chapter 2, Article 2, including new Sections 2-134 through 2-137 as follows. Section 1, Chapter 2, Article 3, repeal Section 2-282 and retain as reserved. Section 2, Chapter 2, Article 3, amend Section 2-281 generally. Head to read as follows. The Department of the Police shall be headed by the Chief of Police. The Department shall enforce the laws of the state, this code, and the ordinances of the city that come under the jurisdiction of the Police Department. It shall also safeguard the persons and properties of its residents and visitors and promote criminal prevention or crime prevention. The Department of Police shall operate in coordination with the Police Commission as set forth in Section 2-134 through 2-137. So far, so good? All right. Section 3, Chapter 2, Article 2, new Sections 2-134 to 2-137 are added and designated as new Division 9 Police Commission as follows. Division 9 Police Commission, Section 2-134, as established, a police commission hereinafter referred to as commission was established prior to the city's charter by special act of the New Hampshire Legislature, Chapter 342 of the laws of 1947. This special act was amended by Chapter 275 laws of 1963 and Chapter 382 laws of 1973. The legislature also amended certain provisions of the city's original charter in 1971 regarding budgetary control of the police department. Those were Chapters 274, Laws of 1971, amending Chapter 392, Laws of 1947. However, some of these changes were repealed in Chapter 382, Laws of 1973. Pursuant to Section 69 of the City Charter, the Commission continues to be governed by the special acts of the legislature rather than provisions of New Hampshire RSA 105-C. It's page 1.
You can go back and forth if you want.
Well, I can go for a little bit. Let me see how much. I'll do this next section. Section 2-135, composition. 1. The commission shall consist of 3 members appointed by the city manager. Said commissioners shall have been residents of the city for at least 5 years immediately preceding the date of their appointment. Not more than 2 commissioners may be of the same political party. Commissioners shall serve without compensation, but may be reimbursed for necessary expenses incurred in the performance of their official duties as commissioners. 2. The city manager shall serve as an ex officio member. The ex officio member's role is advisory, non-voting, and takes no authority from the commissioners and is complementary to the 3 commissioners' positions. The term commissioner in this Division 9 shall not be construed to refer to or to include the ex officio member. The term of the office of each commissioner shall be 3 years and until their successor is appointed. Any vacancy on the commission shall be filled by the city manager in the same manner for the balance of the unexpected term. 4. The city manager may remove any commissioner at any time for just cause and after due hearing, which cause shall be specified in order of removal. Your turn.
Section 2-136, duties and powers. The commission shall appoint such police officers, constables, and superior officers as its judgment it deems necessary within the budget and salary ranges and or salaries approved by the city council for the police department. The commission may, through the chief of police, submit recommendations to the city manager regarding budget proposals. 2. The commission shall have the authority to remove any officer, constable, or superior officer at any time for just cause after a due hearing, which cause shall be specified in order of removal, provided, however, that such authority shall be exercised in accordance with any applicable collective bargaining agreement with the provisions of RSA Chapter 273-A and provisions of RSA 105:2-A. 3. The commission may make and enforce rules and regulations for the police force, provided, however, that such authority shall be exercised in accordance with any applicable collective bargaining agreement with the provisions of RSA Chapter 273-A and provisions of RSA 105:2-A. The commission may adopt written formal policies for the chief of police. Section 2-137, rules and procedures. The commission shall adopt rules to govern its proceedings and shall keep accurate records of its meetings and actions. The commission shall file annually a report of its activities to the city council. Section 4, effective date. This ordinance shall take effect and be enforced immediately upon passage.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, who made the motion? So it was a combination of Councilors Kier and Councilor Pope,
Team effort.
and it was seconded by Assistant Mayor Dameron.
And thank you for letting me use your computer.
Not a problem.
So just to, for clarity, any of those items with regard to the police commission is basically lifted from the language of the law with regard to the police commission. If any clarity was needed, we asked legal counsel to do that. Otherwise, this is really not the policy committee saying, these are our ideas of what the commission should be doing. This is just a straight lift from all of those laws that predate our charter. So as far as the formation of the commission and the amendments to the original law with regard to their powers. So there is really no change in how the police commission is being, is operating. It's just we are putting in the ordinance all of the information that had been lost over the years and was caught up in some memo somewhere when legal counsel did the research, and so it's not a mystery anymore. And it also was a lot more than what we had, because what we had in the current ordinance, there was only 2 or 3 things about what the police commission did. It didn't even capture everything that was outlined in the law. So does that make sense? And as Councilors Stone and Keir are on the policy committee, is there anything that you would like to add to that? And for Councilor Pope?
Well, no, I just want some clarifications on what the current practice is. So the current practice is that the city manager is currently serving as an ex officio member?
That has always been what the law provided. There was confusion about whether that ex officio member should be voting, and that's why you have that had to be cleared up.
Yeah, I realize that. That's why I'm asking the question, because
Yep.
I've seen the past practice where that person could vote.
Yep.
And the next past practice, did we, as a city, follow what our law says about having no more than 2 people from one party? Or was it just kind of a,
I can't answer to what happened in the past, because I'm not even sure, I'm not sure.
yeah.
But
So I guess this makes sure that everything is
this
now
makes
going
sure
to be
that what's
followed.
going on is in
I guess maybe-
accordance with the law.
Not to put you on the spot, but I think maybe this just clears up, because I don't think anybody can really answer what's been happening with the past practice. It just makes it standard. Yes, sir.
Councilor O'Hearn?
Well, I would say that it's my understanding that all the current commissioners are undeclared.
Is that considered a political party?
No,
No.
you're not declared.
Interesting.
But you can't discriminate, right?
So, it provides guidance in the appointment making, according to the law, as it stands. Chief Chase, did you want to say anything? Since you've waited so patiently and...
I really don't have a lot to say. I was part of the policy committee. I showed up for not all of them, obviously, the policy committee. I'm in support of this. This does clarify. I can tell you of the last 3 years almost 3 years since I've been in charge over there, the ex officio was a little confusing with the former city manager. He was here. He would come to some of the meetings, and he knew he was an ex officio. It was never an issue of pull and shove within the meeting, but this definitely clears that part up. There were some questions later if one had to be removed. How does that occur? That was not. So I think this clarifies it. The existing commission, which I think is working. So I'm in support of this. So that's why I've come. I know this was a policy committee, and this is a city council item, not necessarily mine.
Anything else? Thank you, Chief Chase. Thank you. Okay, so we've had the reading, and then we just need the, we have to vote. Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so that moves forward to second reading, and it's also on the agenda for October 9th. Okay, next is the LSR discussion regarding appointment of police commissioners. Again, Councilors Stone and Keir on the policy committee. How did this come about, this item? In the course of the discussions at the policy committee, there had been discussion at the very beginning of our policy committee work about how the commissioners are appointed, and people were referring to RSA 105. But then we learned through the course of our work that that is irrelevant, RSA 105, as far as that goes, because we have to abide by the law upon which the Police Commission was formed for Claremont. So then we discovered where the authority lies for our police commission. It lies with state statute that is outside of this RSA. So then if there was a desire to change how the commissioners were appointed, you'd have to go through the state legislative process to change current law. To be completely honest, there is a lot of different mindsets about whether or not the current way is working. The policy committee is made up of members who have varying opinions on this. The reason why this has been brought forth to the council, because if there is a feeling from the majority of the council that you want to change that process, then we would have to submit an LSR through the legislative process. I can tell you, and I don't want to speak for the chief, but if you'd like to pipe in on this conversation, please feel free. I know you're in support of how it's currently being done.
I am. I'm in support of how it's been going. The current, obviously, if this new ordinance passes, but the current process is I have a revolving new commissioner every 3 years, or reappointment every year. So they stagger. So there's never all three at once if all three of them moved away. I'm in support of the city manager selecting this. This is a unique role. We haven't had. I know there's a number of board and commissions that aren't filled in Claremont. This has been one that's been uniquely filled for years. I believe it's working, so I'm in support of it staying the same. But that's my opinion, and I've been with Claremont on and off for almost 30 years now. I know there's been highs and lows in all the process between city council, police department, any city agency. I believe that what we have right now is working. So that's my short speech on that.
Okay. So to the policy committees, is there anything you'd like to add, Councilor Stone?
I'd be in support of seeing if there's enough opinions of this council to see if we'd like to change it and comply with RSA 105C1.
So what you're saying, for those who aren't clear on it,
More familiar
you're,
with it is, let me bring it up here. That under 105C1 establishment of authority, which we already have a police commission, so we'd go to C2, which is referendum. The following questions shall be submitted to the voters, and that's something we want to discuss, is if the council wants to pursue this, then we have to change with the legislative action and have it put out to the voters for either the council appointing the members of the police commission or the voters doing it through general election of the two that are specified in 105.
so, okay, wait a minute, Councilor Kears on the policy committee, is there anything you would like to say?
I think there was a lot of discussion on a lot of the different possibilities, and I think there was pros and cons for each of them, honestly. I have concerns about it being a general election, not that I don't want to give people the opportunity to elect their own commissioners, but more along the fact that I think the commissioners are supposed to be non-political position, and that would politicize the position that shouldn't be. So from my point of view, I don't think that it's a good idea to have it voted in a general election. If it was something that the council wanted to vote on, I would be okay with that. I don't think, if it's working, we don't need to change it, but if the majority wanted to pick something, that's the one I would go with personally.
And then Councilor Ahern, I think and before you go, Councilor Ahern, I want to be fair to the committee. I really don't remember if committee member Miles had a strong opinion either way, but I do know Sheriff Simons, who is a policy committee member, was not for commissioners being appointed through election, correct?
Yeah, that's true.
So just to be fair. So Councilor Ahern.
I would be in favor of the council, as we appoint boards and committees, being the body that appoints it instead of the city manager. And the reason I say that, and is that I spent 31 years with the city of Claremont and the police department. I was there, when Commissioner Blewett, who was a deputy chief, I believe, back in the day, retired, but he was police commissioner. That was the last person I knew that was a police officer on the commission. Under a certain city manager, it was rumored that no longer anybody that was police experienced would be allowed on the police commission, and that came to a halt. And since then, as far as I know, nobody with law enforcement has been appointed to that commission, which I think personally is a problem. Through the 31 years that I was there, again, I was the union chair, and we had a grievance process. And that came to a halt where no longer could the unions go before the commission to plead their case to keep the expenses down at the lowest level possible. And we kept going to state arbitrations. It's $700, $1,000 costly for both the city. So, again, I may be slightly a little. There is a problem there when the city manager, one person is appointing commissioners, who also can remove those commissioners. From what we just read, that even with a hearing or whatever, but still, that person that appoints can remove them. You kind of put them in a position where if you want to stay there, I guess you listen to the ex officio person that makes some recommendation. I mean, I just think that it's better off if the body of 9, who doesn't really have much to, who appoints the commissions of all the other ones, should be doing the same thing for the police commission. And we are voted by the people, so we should be able to, do what the people want.
Councilor Kennis?
I would also agree with Councilor O'Hearn. I think that it should come down to the city council, and one of my ideas behind that is kind of a simplistic one in that why have a separate police commission if it's going to be chosen by a city manager, where in a lot of other communities the police chief just answers directly to the city manager? To me, there's not enough of a separation there. If the police commission's there to serve a purpose as basically managing the policies and the procedures, then it shouldn't come down from the city manager. It should come down from us.
Councilor Kolowski?
Were there other examples of communities that the council actually appointed police commissioners?
Yes.
You remember?
Nashua?
Nashua was appointed by the governor.
Governor.
That's what's
Endorsed
the
by the
lone,
council.
lone city in the state that still abide by the original appointment of the police commission back in 19-something. I don't remember the date.
Councilor Stone?
Throughout the state, majority of them are done by general election. I think, was Nashua the only one, Chief, that was still done by the governor?
There was
One or two?
There was one or two. I mean, but I would only point out also, most of the cities and towns in the state of New Hampshire don't have a police commission at all. They answer to a town or city management. I am all for civilian oversight of a police agency in these dates, this date and time. So I'm all for the support of the civilian oversight. I know Councilor O'Hearn brought up no police experience. I don't think that's a detriment to the agency. I think a clean set of eyes to the policies and procedures and how we act as a law enforcement, as protectors of our community is okay. I personally, if I retire, or if former Chief Scott wanted to be a police commissioner, I think that wouldn't necessarily benefit the agency in a couple years. I mean, his knowledge and experience would, but for a civilian oversight, I think it's really good to have that civilian that doesn't have that experience. I know we've had some former firefighters, some professionals, retired people. But that's my opinion.
This was slated for discussion tonight, and I'm hearing a lot of different opinions, and I'm also hearing we're guessing on some things because we really don't have the facts. So let me propose this. I hear interest on both sides of the issue. I think if we're going to make a motion to submit the LSR, and we have time through the Senate process. Wait, let me finish. let it go back to the policy committee, and we'll create a spreadsheet of, you know, what's being done across the state, because I know Chief Chase did that research already. We have it in our records at the policy committee level. What are the pros and cons? Sheriff Simons is not here. He has reasons for what he believes. So we can capture it all together, and then you can make your own analysis from that. Assistant Mayor Hart. Oh my God. Assistant Mayor Dearman.
I'm to your right.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I guess I'm a bit at sea here a little bit. Submission of an LSR would seek something to be done through the legislative process. I've heard three options: to stay the way we are with a manager appointing, or a popular election, or city council appointment. What will an LSR seek to do? Is it one thing or another, or?
Well, that's what we have to be clear on, because we have to
Correct.
submit the LSR to say what we want to do, and we're not
We haven't done
unified on that.
So it would be premature to even at this point do anything with an LSR until the policy committee brought a recommendation forward that people could agree on as to which way we wanted to go, correct?
Right.
Okay.
You should, so let me go with who had their hand first, and I'll go on the side. Counselor Kolowski.
I'm not in favor of kicking this back to the policy committee. I'd like to act upon it after a good discussion tonight. I've carried notes with me to the last 3 meetings to discuss this. I have all of what every town does in front of me from your policy committee notes. Chief Simons, it says in the minutes, it says Chief Simons, I'm assuming you should say Sheriff Simons, but April 18th, 2019, he stated his concerns if commissioners were elected. One is the risk that people would not be willing to run for positions, and 2, people may run with their own agendas. The other thing that alarms me, and Chief Chase spoke to his concerns, but he has the same concerns. And then John Simons, in the minutes of March 7, 2019, notes as an elected law enforcement official, there's a stigma to work against in this kind of position, as he is in a political position as well. So his political views should not be a factor. So there could be the same worry that not everyone will have the same apolitical focus without an agenda. And when you add politics into a place that does not have and should not have politics, then you have added politics into it. So being that those 2 law enforcement seats had concern, I had concern. I do remember when I was a police cadet, I tried to look back on records, but there's no online records from Equal Times days then, but I know of a couple cases where police commissioners kind of ran awry and were removed from their duties. So if it goes to the voters, my concern is a recall provision, and I'm not sure. That's the information I guess I'd be looking for, because I don't want to sit around for 2 years knowing somebody abused that authority, or and there's no way to would just ride out the term. I don't like that idea. It is hard enough, as was stated, to get people. The list of vacancies is insane right now. To get people to step up, and for those reasons, and I guess I just had a question when Councilor Kennison was talking about, the separation between the manager and the police commission. Really, I guess I just question. There's supposed to be a layer of separation between the council and the police commission, so I'm not sure that also achieves what we're looking for. If anything, I would be more in favor of the council appointing those positions, but I think you still run the same risk that right now the public could provide feedback for the removal of anyone to the manager directly. I don't know. I think we just add another layer of the council's meddling into something that may not need to be there. But I say that as a question mark, not.
So see, again, I'm hearing you have thoughts on it, but you also have questions. And all I'm saying is by moving it back to the policy committee gives us the opportunity to list all of these things and then have a real analysis done so that if we do decide to take action, we know exactly what direction we're going in, which is necessary for the LSR. So Councilor Stone, you had your hand up first. Okay. Okay. Councilor Ahern.
I just want to maybe answer Councilor Kowalski's concern. The council would not be an ex officio member of the commission, so therefore there would be a separation, where the city manager currently is an ex officio. Even though he may not be voting, he can go to the meetings. The council is not going to go it. We're going to appoint the commissioners, and they'll do their job, and we'll reappoint. I mean, I guess we could remove them, do with some type of a process, but at the end of the day, there's going to be a separation between the commission and the council, not like it currently is, where there is an ex officio member of the board. So again, I would be in favor, again, of the council appointment. I'm not in favor of the going to the vote, which I think I'm hearing I haven't heard anything other from the council other than the majority of that.
Councilor Pope.
So I'm losing my voice. Tonight we are looking at this police commission ordinance to clear up some past issues. And so I've been thinking about this for a while. We have a new city manager. We have an ordinance which clears up the no matter two-party thing, no members, two-party or three members. City manager's position, once again, new city manager. My suggestion would be that we take this ordinance as is and let it run for a year and actually see how it is working and then reevaluate, which I won't be here to do that. I am very aware of some rumors of past improprieties. I mean, there's certainly no doubt about that, and do have concerns about that. And if I were to have to choose between council or city vote, that would be a tough choice. I'd probably have to start with council vote, but although city vote is weighed equal. But I would certainly let what we have run for 1 year and then evaluate it at that point. We're now changing and clarifying the ordinance. Simple as that.
Okay. Councilor Stone.
This issue has been before the policy committee for, short of just 2 years?
Yep.
I don't think there's any more research we can do to really clarify. The bottom line facts is that if we want to vote to change it as a council and to do the LSR, that it sounds to me from what I've heard tonight that most people are in favor of the council doing the appointments of police commission. And I think that's what we should go with if we do that vote tonight, to see if there's enough to sustain that.
So I think you're speaking from the perspective of being entrenched in this for a couple of years because you're on the policy committee. I don't think that is fair to say for the council members who are not on the policy committee. And I always, if you're going to submit LSRs, it's very helpful to be very clear about what you want to achieve because you're going to have to defend it at hearings. So I, based on the discussion tonight, have a list in my mind of things that I want to, research.
Just a little follow-up is, what's the time frame on the LSRs?
The LSR submission deadline, I was told, I was surprised by it last week, that it's passed the House, but I'm not sure if that's true. But the Senate deadline is in late November, early December, so we have time. Councilor Kowalski.
Pains me to say this, but I agree with Councilor Stone. And I think
You've been saying this too much, so it can't be painful
I'm
anymore.
kidding, but just knowing that we're ending our council terms, we're sending something back to a policy committee that is really coming back to a lame duck council to decide for. I don't know. Like, I think this has been discussed enough, and I would, if anything, I would like to get a general consensus where everyone's leaning without getting the can kicked down the road again.
Well, I'll tell you from my point, and I'm on the policy committee, I need some time to consider everything that's been said. I don't operate that way as far as, I hear new information, so I want to take some time to consider it. And maybe that'll change my leanings, maybe it won't. But I just approach it in a different manner, and I don't think we're losing anything by having it come back to the council at the end of October. We're not a lame council if we're still doing a lot of work. I know we're working a lot at the policy committee, and I know other committees are working hard. So I just don't,
Can I ask just the timeline? So if the policy committee meets and brings back a recommendation, this goes where?
then you contact a representative and say, will you please submit this LSR on our behalf?
And then this still gets voted, or this?
No, that's it. I mean, the recommendation would come back from the policy committee. You'd say, yes, this is the LSR we want submitted, if any, and then it's done. Then you just contact a representative who's willing to take it.
I'll just clarify, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said that the legislative for House has already gone by with the Senate, so you'd have to contact the senator to file it, right?
Well,
For an LSR.
placeholder bill under your name.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying that if she wanted to do it for a Senate, it would be,
Oh, you've already done
I
this?
put a placeholder just in case.
So that can be amended.
It can be amended, it could be thrown out, or, whatever, but, at the last, I'm going to clarify, at the last meeting, you told Councilor Kulowski that we were within the timeframes, and I hadn't even inquired about
surprised.
LSRs, and then I find out that in actuality, they closed last Friday, so I was misinformed, and I think Councilor Kulowski was misinformed that we thought we had time. And now,
And you went ahead and without, on your own, okay.
placeholder.
Well,
But I guess I would say to Councilor Stone is that this has been going on for almost 2 years. This discussion started way last year at the beginning, and
this is a council of 9, and the idea is to get consensus from a quorum of what to do. And
so this, okay, Madam Mayor, this is a council of 9, so you would say that all the decisions that have been made, we've all been had input in those decisions? Such as the meet and greet with the city manager, that we weren't part of that discussion. I found out by an email from Doré that was met to go, that you and the city manager and the assistant mayor had a meeting and
to
not.
see if the city manager was available.
And
And
we-
you're getting off track, and
Well,
we either
you're
were
saying that
going,
we are a council of 9.
we are talking about, there was every opportunity for your input for the meet and greet. It was put out in several, it was. So I do not want to get off a topic. The issue here is, this was an agenda item and no communication was made that action was taken. So I don't know where the council wants to go with this. Councilor Pope?
I've listened to a lot of counselors, including 2 or 3 counselors that have a lot of experience in this, and so I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to make a motion that the Claremont City Council counselors support I'm going to try to think of a good way to put it, support creating an LSR which has the Claremont City Council appointing police commissioners.
Second that.
So that motion was made by Councilor Pope and seconded by Councilor Stone.
Ask for a roll call vote, please.
So the motion was that Claremont City Councilors support creating an LSR which has the Claremont City Council appointing police commissioners, seconded by Mr. Stone. Is that it? Is that the motion?
Yes.
Okay, everybody's quiet. Yes.
Go ahead, Nat. We aren't voting yet.
No, we're not voting. It's just this.
Right, so do we want a roll call?
Yes. The roll call was requested.
I'm sorry?
Roll call.
Let me see. Counselor Sard.
Yes.
Counselor Ahern.
Yes.
Counselor Stone.
Yes.
Sister Mayor Dameron.
No.
Counselor Kinnison.
Yes.
Counselor Kier.
No.
Counselor Kowalski.
Yes.
Counselor Pope.
Yes.
Mayor Lovett.
No, not at this time.
63.
So,
Okay.
Did I, oh, you waiting on me?
The result.
the result, yeah. So the motion passes. So that would mean that you would have to have, since time is no longer of the essence, we can put it on the second meeting of October for what that, or is the motion what you want for the LSR?
I think that's
He
what we
can't be.
agreed to.
It can't be, because you're going to have some language that talks about changing the law and all this other stuff. It can't be our motion. Counselor Pope?
I have an honest question for both of our representatives. When creating an LSR, I believe there's a person that helps you craft the language for the
Yep.
LSR.
The attorneys at the Legislative Services.
So we would have a lot of help in that.
So who wants to be the lead on that as far as the representative? Who wants to sponsor the bill? You are, okay. All righty. So there's no further action then? Is everybody clear? Sister Mayor Dameron?
Yeah, just simply process, so that means that Councilor Ahern moves to amend the bill that you filed as a placeholder, correct? And working with the legislative services.
It was,
attorneys.
again, as I stated, it's a placeholder.
Yeah.
The language to it will be developed as we come into, towards November, but again, I will keep the council informed but the understanding is that the council will have the authority. Or, again, who knows how it's going to be, but I would say that it would probably be that the legislature would give the authority to the council to make that decision.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
moving on. Okay, final item on today's agenda